Well, hi, my name is Morgan Pippin. I don't know if I haven't had a chance to meet everybody in the room yet, but I am proud to serve as John Q. Williams' campaign manager for this 2020 primary. I am really excited to be here, and I'm really excited that you all are here to support John and to support his vision for a better Athens-Clarke County. We're all here today because we want change. We want lasting change, and we know that actions speak louder than words. We are here because we're a diverse mix of community members that are all here for criminal justice reform. We want an end to a lot of things that are happening in Athens-Clarke County. We want an end to senseless deportations. We want an end to violence towards and throughout our community. And we want meaningful reform in our community that provides equity and justice to all members of Athens-Clarke County. All 125,000 plus people in this community, they deserve a sheriff's department that's here to protect them and to give them, to protect them and to create a safer community for our future generations. Crime is by nature a very complex issue, and the solutions to those issues need to be ambitious and bold and creative. I'm here today because I believe that John Q. Williams is the person that can bring an enterprising and ambitious attitude to the Sheriff's Department. He has experience and he has the values needed to reflect our values in our community. I know many of you are here today because you are fed up with the way things currently are, and you have good reason to feel that way. Our campaign will be fighting every day for a more just and equitable Athens-Clarke County, and if you're a fighter, we need you. We are striving towards a grassroots campaign that represents the people, and that means that we need the people with us every step of the way. We want to knock doors on every street, we want to plant signs in every yard, and we want to host house parties in every neighborhood. We need callers, knockers, and hosts. We need dedicated individuals that know that now, more than ever, we need a change at the top of our criminal justice system. So please visit our website or meet me during the meet and greet, and we can work together to figure out how you can help us with our movement towards a better Athens. I believe in John Q, and I believe that you should too. If you've been following us on social media, then you know that today we're debuting our Never Before Seen video. If you haven't, then please go ahead and get out your phones and find him on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at John Q4 Sheriff, the number 4. That is at John Q4 Sheriff on all platforms. John will give his announcement speech and lay out several key points that are foundational to his campaign after the video. But for now, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our Finance and Communications Director, Alex Vanden Heuvel. He's here to talk about what's at stake and what you can do to help.
Thank you very much for coming out today, everybody. So my name is Alex Vanden Heuvel, and I'm the Finance and Communications Director of the campaign, as Morgan said. So I'm excited to see a group of people out here today who are excited and impassioned about the prospect of enacting real criminal justice reform in this community. But let me cut to the chase here. We have competition in this primary, and his name is Sheriff Ira Edwards Jr. He's been elected 5 times in a row, no small feat. But the audit report and many other things show that the status quo is no longer acceptable in this county. As of the last campaign finance report, Sheriff Edwards had roughly $30,000 in his bank account. A few weeks ago, he held a closed-door fundraiser at a country club where he bragged on video about how much money he was raising. He will always be able to count on fundraisers from anti-immigrant and anti-reform forces in Northeast Georgia, and he will always be able to rely on money from businesses that have a vested interest in keeping our criminal justice system the way it is, like bail bonding companies. We are starting from zero, which is a daunting task, but I truly believe this is the moment where we can use the power of the people in order to change the status quo in Athens-Clarke County. But we won't be able to do that alone, and that's where the public comes in. We will not accept money from bail bonding companies or other similar sources that would taint the integrity of the sheriff's office. That means that running a truly grassroots campaign is even more of the essence. Please consider chipping in whatever you can today to help our campaign continue to organize and build the infrastructure that we need to grow and continue to grow. Politics isn't cheap, but with many hands lifting, the weight will be less to bear. You can donate on our website at johnq4sheriff.com or talk to me during the meet and greet session if you prefer to pay using cash or check. Beyond being a donation that represents your belief in John and the values that he represents, what you give is actually an investment. It's an investment that will return in the form of a safer and more equitable community for all Clarke County residents and future generations. It'll give a return every time we see our new sheriff fight for the true values of Athens-Clarke County residents, not the values of conservative policing organizations that have no vested interest in our community, not the values of outdated and failed programs like DARE, and not the type of people that pay to go for expensive private fundraisers at country clubs. Please donate today to enact real, lasting, and crucial change in Athens-Clarke County. But without further ado, please enjoy watching the public premiere of the John Q. Williams for Sheriff announcement video. Please stay seated afterwards because Sergeant Williams will be speaking immediately following. Thank you very much.
My name is John Q. Williams.
I'm both honored and humbled just to look out and see so many people here, my family, friends, peers, members of the Athens-Clarke County community. I'm here to officially announce my run for Sheriff of Athens-Clarke County. I say that, and I know it comes as no surprise because many of you have heard me talking about this for a year or more. Some people ask me why I would want to do something like this. Others ask me what took me so long. Others even still ask me if I've lost my mind. Well, I want to go ahead and take this time to answer those questions and maybe a few more. So I'll start off by just giving you a little bit about myself. As the video said, I was born and raised in Gary, Indiana. And I remember the Gary of my youth being this city that was filled with such hope and opportunity. The crack epidemic of the 1980s, coupled with the fall of the steel mill industry, made Gary a very different place. Suddenly, the poverty level rose. And with that, drug and crimes and violence also rose as well. But even in the 80s, we could sleep with our doors and windows unlocked before that change. I want to get back to a time where we can have those type of interactions and that faith in our community. I was fortunate enough when I was growing up to have some great teachers and role models that pulled me back and kept me on the right track. I was involved in theater and drama club. That kept me busy in addition to a full workload of classes from the gifted and talented program in the Gary School District. Even with my focus on academics, I actually had many interactions with the police during my teens. I truly felt that I was racially profiled and mistreated on a number of occasions. See, Gary was predominantly African American community. The police department, on the other hand, was predominantly Caucasian. There were countless times that I or close friends of mine were pulled over by the police for reasons not more than the car that we were driving or the areas that we were driving through. This story right here, the very first date I had, and my mom's here, I don't know if she knows this. I had just got my driver's license. I'm driving my mom's car, girlfriend in the car, my very first date. We get pulled over by the police under the premise of making sure that my insurance was active and valid. Needless to say, that did not have a very positive outcome of that date. So I survived Gary, and I made it to college at Iowa State University. Then I moved to Athens in 1997 when my sister was working on her master's and eventually her PhD at the University of Georgia. I've always looked up to my big sister. She may not know that. She's here today. If she didn't know then, she knows now. I hadn't planned on this, but I actually got a job in law enforcement in 1998 at the University of Georgia Police Department. I was a dispatcher, or more aptly put, a communications officer. That's what we called it at the time. I quickly learned the ropes of being a dispatcher, and it actually came so naturally to me, and I was so good at it, I was soon training other dispatchers. From there, I needed even more of a challenge because I was so good at it. So I applied to be a dispatcher at the much larger Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. Soon as I got called, and my family will remember this because they told me I was crazy, I said, this is my 2 weeks notice when they called me for an interview because I knew that job was going to be mine. And I was right. I got that job. So I worked Charlotte-Mecklenburg, but I found myself almost every weekend being home, greatly because my sons, one of which is in the room today, I had to come back. I could not stay away from Athens. So when I had my chance to come back to Athens to help run the university's Police Communications Center, it was a no-brainer. I came back to home. Eventually, I made my way over to the Athens-Clarke County Police Department, and I've been there in some form or capacity ever since. That was in 2007, and I've been there. So I've been a dispatcher. I became a certified police officer in 2009. I was a resource officer briefly at Cedar Shoals High School. When I worked patrol, I worked the areas mostly closely to downtown, from Bethel Midtown Village all the way up North Avenue, from Parkview Homes over to Newtown. I see some nods in the room. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So then I was assigned to the Career Development and Training Unit. I was there for 4 years, mostly training the new incoming officers. So I've been a state certified instructor for police general instruction classes for over 14 years. I've trained police officers around the state of Georgia. I've even been trained as far as South Dakota. So I was promoted to the rank of corporal in 2017. Subsequently, in 2018, I was promoted to sergeant. Since that time, I've been the sergeant over the Domestic Violence and Missing Persons Unit, the Special Victims Unit at the Athens-Clarke County Police Department. I've had the pleasure of working with Project Safe, the UGA Family Violence Clinic, SANE, The Cottage, countless other partners that help serve the Athens-Clarke County community. One thing I've learned is that you have to be willing to turn a mirror on yourself if you hope to make a difference, that is. One class that I've taught for over 5 years to new recruits and some members of the public as well is entitled Fair and Impartial Policing. It's important to be able to recognize any biases that you have if you ever hope to overcome them. In class, I compare it to that old G.I. Joe cartoon. Now, I'm showing my age. If the gray doesn't, the fact that I watched G.I. Joe growing up probably does. But they had this line that goes something like this: and now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Then they have the music, G.I. Joe. But right here, what we need to focus on is that the science of bias can actually help to improve relationships between the community and law enforcement. In 2015, President Barack Obama published a report from the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. This report identified several best practices for modern-day policing. There were 6 pillars identified. The pillars are as follows. 1 is building trust and urgency and legitimacy. Easy for me to say, right? 2, policy and oversight. 3, technology and social media. 4, community policing and crime reduction. 5, training and education. And lastly, number 6, officer wellness and safety. These will tie into my vision for Athens once elected. So the meat of this is my reasons for running. They stem from my past experiences with law enforcement, prior to getting involved in law enforcement, those things that left me with a bad taste in my mouth. I realized that I could be a part of the change that I wanted to see long ago. I want to take this next step to better our community, as well as the other law enforcement agencies that serve Athens-Clarke County, our community. Oftentimes people ask why a policy or procedure is a certain way. They're often met with this response: that's the way we've always done it. I hear some giggles. They understand how silly that sounds, right? Well, Einstein said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, yet expecting different results. In an ever-changing society, death is the inability to evolve. As a sheriff, if you're basing your tactics on the past, you could easily be increasing the distrust of police and furthering the image of police as robotic oppressors. People in this county are struggling. Many people in our county are struggling with mental health issues, drug problems, alcohol addiction. These problems have often been dealt with how? By putting people in jail. I don't think we ever could, but we certainly cannot continue to try to address these problems in that manner. That approach won't work. We cannot arrest our way out of our community issues. That is not service. We have to look at ways of getting to the root cause of these problems. Mental health awareness and training, criminal justice reform, and getting back to true community-oriented policing strategies are going to be my top priorities as sheriff. Proper training will be crucial to bridging the gap between law enforcement and the community. Education for officers, but also citizens and community members, will be a key tool. Here's my vision for Athens-Clarke County with me as your sheriff. I see true partnerships between the community and the sheriff's department. I see an Athens where deputies know the faces of the community and the community know the faces of the deputies. As sheriff, I will be visible in the community and available to the citizens that I serve. Through training and education, I will help to build trust. This community will see, listen to me now, you will see unprecedented levels of transparency. I see the stigma of law enforcement becoming a thing of the past. Community members will partner with us and know that being a deputy in the city that you live in is an honorable thing. Community members will be proud to work with and for us in order to keep the city and the ones they love safe. I also want to take partisan politics out of law enforcement. There's no place for it. The office of sheriff is about serving the community. That should mean the entire community, equally and impartially. So I talked about being born and raised in Gary, Indiana. The truth is I see a lot of parallels between the Gary of my youth and the Athens of now. My wife asked me before she moved down here with me what it was about Athens that made me want to serve here. Well, I was born in Gary, but I was raised here in Athens. Athens taught me so much about who I am. It has helped me see who and what I can be. I live, shop, work, and seek entertainment right here in Athens-Clarke County. Why? Because Athens has made me the man that I am today. As a result, I can't let Athens be anything less than the great city that it can be. I need all of your help to help take Athens to new heights. We may not be able to fully eliminate crime or the fear of crime, but together we can move mountains. As my campaign develops, please share my message with your friends, family, anyone that you talk to. A vote for John Q. Williams is a vote for Athens, all of Athens. Thank you.
of community policing look like? Can you go more in depth on that for us?
So I think one of the things I've always tried to do at the police department, all the classes that I teach, we've opened them to the public as well. This is another plug here. So I'm actually teaching another fair and impartial policing this Wednesday, the Wednesday night from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. It'll be at the Athens-Clarke County Police Department. If you want to come, you'll be training right alongside some of those young officers that are fresh out the academy, ready to hit the road. It's a sharing of ideas. I think if we share our training with the community, they understand the thought process of police. But in that training, if we have civilians come in, they also get to show their ideas of what the police should be or their experiences with police. That side-by-side training is a big part of what community-oriented policing is. It's not just, it is going out, having cookouts, having barbecues, things of that nature, but it's about being available to the public.
Anyone else?
So I do have, it's one other thing, because just to kind of piggyback on that question, I'll get to your next one. So community-oriented policing, one thing that we have to consider is we need the community support in order to do our job. One thing that's been out there is a lot of issues with immigration. My stance on immigration is that we can't afford to have members of our society, whether they're documented or not, be afraid to come to the police for help. So that will not be my focus at all. One thing we want to make sure is we reduce that fear. And those are people in our community. We need them. We need to value them. Everybody wants to feel valued, right? Anybody in the room not want to feel valued as a human being? Raise your hand. I know some people that will do it for you. But that's our focus there. We're going to be focused on people. Okay. You had another one?
I think you might have already answered the second question, which was, one of the reasons the current sheriff has been in a lot of hot water politically is his initial cooperation with the 287G program. Under some pressure, he backed out of it. Mm-hmm. Are you willing to commit to a continuation of not working with that program here in Clarke County?
So there's a lot of things that happen, and some things are as simple as checking a box. There's some things that, Sheriff, that you're going to have to do just by law, because I am an agent of the law. But as far as anything, as far as hunting down people just because they're undocumented, no, we will not focus on that at all. We will not be seeking out people with the intent of deporting them. That is not our focus. We're focused on helping people.
Can we answer any other questions? No? Well, congratulations to John for taking this super courageous step.